Let's move on to our other big focus tonight. Now, indefinite curfew continues in Assam's Kokrajhar district, which recorded fresh incidents of violence between two communities who clashed earlier this summer, killing 99 people and displacing 5 lakh others. There are various factors leading to this clash. The concern is now about firearms being used in the killings. The police has decided to crack down. Kishorai Bhattacharjee reports.
On the night of Diwali, 35-year-old Shaira Begum was sitting for dinner when she was shot dead by several rounds of bullets.
मेरा भाभी ने यहीं पे बैठ के खाना खा रहा था। 2 आदमी बाहर था, 1 आदमी घर के अंदर आके यहाँ पे गोली मार दिया मेरे भाभी को।
Qasidul, who's come from Kerala to attend Eid celebrations out here, was also shot at and he survived. आपको ऊपर गोली चला था?
हाँ, मैं बहुत सारा गोली चला था, कम से कम 10-15 गोली चलाया था मेरा ऊपर। लेकिन मेरे को नहीं लगा, मेरे माँ को पैर में लग गया था गोली। एक गोली।
भाभी मर गए।
और मेरा भाभी मर गया वहाँ पे।
There is already retaliatory violence in which 2 Boros have been killed. One was shot dead.
We tried to find out what are the main factors. One is the easy availability of weapons. So that is going to be one focus area for us. We are going ahead with seizing of weapons. And the second is, of course, those youth who are prone to violence. So we're going after both of them. Hopefully we'll contain it.
Given the fact that the area is heavily weaponized, the administration admits that effective and sustained policing has to be put in place, besides the temporary measures to contain the violence. The source of this clash between the more indigenous Boros and Bengali-speaking Muslims, who are seen as outsiders, lie in the issue of land. But it is the easy availability of weapons that is fueling this unending cycle of violence. With camera person Sanjay in Kokrajhar, Kishorai Bhattacharjee for NDTV.
Right, well, Kishorai Bhattacharjee now joins me live from Kokrajhar for the latest on this. Kishorai, we're reporting the curfew, we're reporting this new worry about firearms being circulated over there possibly. What's the situation like there tonight on the ground?
Well, Maya, I think, there is a lot of fear. I wouldn't say panic, but also anticipation of what is, awaiting, because this is a festive season. It was the day after Diwali. Diwali was celebrated with a lot of spirit this time. In fact, residents told me this is the first time they celebrated after 1996 without fear. And the morning after, there was a stabbing in the weekly market and when the curfew was clamped. And now there's a Chhat Puja on Sunday. So people are hoping that the curfew will be relaxed. Currently, the situation, because of the curfew and because of these incidents, which the DGP says is isolated but probably related as well, have created a sense that probably there will be a rerun of the violence of summer. But I think the administration wants, has brought in this curfew, brought in columns of army and paramilitary forces as precautionary measures so that one doesn't repeat, one doesn't see what has happened in summer. You were here, we all were here, and the situation was absolutely grave. But there is also a context to this whole thing, Maya, and which goes back way to 1967, when the first statehood demand in Bodoland started under the name of Udayachal. Later then changed the name from Udayachal to Bodoland. And there are various factors, various triggers. One of them, which is the immediate measure, which is the immediate concern and should have been the concern for a very long time, is the easy availability of arms and weapons. And as the police says that they are going to start a crackdown, we'll have to wait and see how they do the crackdown, because if the police cracks down, the political, class will have to back them up. Right. Are they willing to back them up is the question. And also the politics of ethno-exclusivism, which I'm sure one of your panels out there, Mr. R.N. Ravi, will be able to discuss at length.
Right. Right. Thanks a lot, Kishorai, for joining us. As you just pointed out, we have a panel to discuss in the studio. Mr. R.N. Ravi, former Special Director in the Intelligence Bureau. Anirudh Goswami, who is an entrepreneur and doing a lot of work in terms of the business environment in Assam. Tasneem Rahmani, who's with the Muslim Council of India. And we're also being joined in a short while from Kokrajhar by the Bodo leader, Biswajit Daimari of the Bodo People's Front over there. But R.N. Ravi, as Kishorai pointed out, let's go across to you first. We're talking about clashes we've seen all summer long. We're talking about clashes in different communities, and the very real threat of now firearms actually also coming out over there. What are the things that one should be actually looking out for at this point in time to calm tensions in the area?
No, anyone familiar with this area knows that this is not the first time that there has been violence of this nature. There have been in the past, and unfortunately this will not be the last, because the causative factors are alive. What this government is doing is only addressing it in terms of firefighting, sending army and all that, curbing it for a while. But essentially the issues relate to three. One is the land, another is migration, and the third is illegal weapons, widespread illegal weapons. Now the land is, in the Kokrajhar areas, if you look at the map, there is a huge tract of reserved forest. Right. But on the ground, not a tree to sight. Now this deforestations that have taken place over the years, massive, it will be unfair to attribute it to the migrants. These have been commercial exploitation of forest for timbers by the timber mafias. The vacated land has been occupied by people, some from locals, some those who came from outside. So there is a huge pressure on land. Migrants are another issues. The Bodos have been there. I mean, they have been very long time. Arguably, they are the oldest natives of the place, and so they often claim primary ownership of the land. Right. There are others who came later, but there have been, like Coach Rajbansi, have been there for over 1,000 years. Right. But the latest are essentially people, those who came from central India, Adivasis. Right. And people who came from East Bengal and its later reincarnations, East Pakistan and Bangladesh. Both of them became about 100 years range. Right, but over the course of time, then they have also become indigenous people of the area, because they've spent, as you're saying, a better part of a century over there. Anirudh, you're from there. You haven't been living in the state now for some time, but you have a lot of business interests over there. Is this situation affecting your work, really?
To be honest, this situation, if there is a tense environment, getting investments into a region which desperately needs investment is a huge challenge, and it adds to the problems of motivating people to come in, look at abundant opportunities that lie there for investors. So I personally feel the challenges are more economic in nature. Right. We've been debating illegal immigrants. How do we detect illegal immigrants? There are several policies, there are several meetings, but we have not really resolved the matter, and it is a very complex matter. It's not an easy issue to be resolved over debates or talk shows or things like that. But I personally feel the challenges of economic growth and economic generation would be one of the most crucial things. Let's get
Tasneem Rahmani also in on this. So we're hearing this, as Mr. Ravi's pointed out, land, immigration, these are two key issues, and the illegal arms, the firearms. Do you think that the issue of illegal immigrants has been blown out of proportion in the area, or do you think that there is a legitimate concern that a lot of these people are undocumented, still continue to come across the border from Bangladesh? No one knows who they are, where they've come from, how long they've been there. Do you think that there is a problem?
See, there is a very long debate about the immigration, illegal or legal. But I want to say one thing. More than 2/3 of our borders with Bangladesh are attached with either West Bengal or with Tripura. Right. With Assam, the border attachment of Bangladesh is hardly 1/3. Then the economic situation of Assam is much worse than that West Bengal. Right. Particularly West Bengal. Then why these illegal immigrants, if at all there is any illegal immigrant, they are going to Assam? Why don't they go to Bangladesh, and why don't they go to Tripura? Yeah. So I say the main reason is political. Some people, some political forces and some other forces want to make a drastic change in the demography of that area due to the land.
Biswajit Daimari is joining us now from Kokrajhar. Biswajit Daimari, if you can hear the arguments over here, Tasneem Rahmani is saying that the issue of illegal immigrants in that area that seem to have caused the conflict is being blown out of proportion, that this is a political conflict, and your leadership is also in a sense fueling this conflict.
नहीं, देखिए, ये जो बदौलन में ये जो सिचुएशन हो रहा है, इसमें जो इमिग्रेशन का प्रॉब्लम बता रहा है, ये तो है ही, लेकिन यहाँ पर जो ये घटना हुआ है, माने वो सिर्फ वही नहीं, बहुत पहले से आपको पता होगा कि इस बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल एरिया में बहुत सारे एक्सट्रीमिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं।
जी, और उनके अभी जो हथियार हैं वो सारे सर्कुलेशन में है, वो भी एक डर है। जी
सॉरी
मैंने कहा आप कह रहे हैं बहुत सारे मिलिटेंट एक्सट्रीमिस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है वहां पे, और मैं कह रही हूं कि उनके जो हथियार हैं सीज फायर्स वगैरह के बाद वो भी अभी सर्कुलेशन में है, तो ऑलरेडी टेंस सिचुएशन को इस वजह से और बढ़ाया जा रहा है।
तो देखिए, हाँ यही प्रॉब्लम है कि यहाँ पर हथियार लोगों के हाथ में है और उसी हथियार से लोगों को मार रहा है।
किसके हाथ में हथियार है?
एक्सट्रीमिस्ट या कोई आर्म्स वाला आदमी के
किसके हाथ में हथियार है?
यहाँ देखिए, मैं आपको अच्छी तरह से देखिए, मैं बोल रहा हूं यहाँ पर ऑलरेडी अंडरग्राउंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एनडीपी 2 ग्रुप है। यहाँ पर आदिवासी का कोबरा मिलिटेंट्स, बिरसा कमांडो फोर्स वगैरह है। यहाँ पर यूनाइटेड लिबरेशन फ्रंट ऑफ आसाम अल्फा है। यहाँ पर केएलओ कमोतापुरी लिबरेशन आर्मी है। यहाँ पर माओवादी तक है। यहाँ पर मुस्लिम का माल्टा भी है और बहुत सारा है। तो ये सारे जो गतिविधि है उग्रपंथी का, तो वही लोग कभी कभी एक्सटर्शन या किलिंग, किडनैपिंग ये करता रहता है, और ये होने के कारण यहाँ में कभी कभी पब्लिक लेवल तक कुछ माने सोशल प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है।
जी,
तो इससे कारण ऐसा हादसा यहाँ पर हो जाता है।
ठीक है मिस्टर जयमारी, हम समझ रहे हैं आप क्या कह रहे हैं। मिस्टर रवि, लेट यू हियरिंग व्हाट ही इज सेइंग, इट्स आल्सो इन अ सेंस you know a passing off of the blame onto various communities and various reasons, but there's always these little flashpoints that emerge as a result of very specific groups and very specific incidents.
No, in fact, if you look at the history of it, the flashpoint has been Bodo versus the rest.
Right.
Which is 90s, it was Bodos versus the Muslim, Bodo versus the Adivasis. Now you find again Bodo versus the Muslims. Because Bodos, they consider themselves the primary owners of the place. They believe it is their land and others should not come. Now the problem is that we have accepted that those who came before 25th March 1971, they are Indians.
Right.
Government has done sweet nothing to identify them and say them, look, they are Indians. Now with one brush you can't just paint everyone as illegal immigrant. That's very dangerous. Now having said that, I also would differ with Mr. Taslim that he said that why migration should take place in Assam whose economic condition is not as well. I'm not talking about what is happening in West Bengal, but in Assam the current migration which is taking place, and it is taking place, my research has proved it, is not coming for the land. Earlier they used to come for the land. Today they are coming for jobs. And a lot of money is being invested in Assam in terms of road construction, building construction, a lot of activities.
Clearly, as Anirudh is pointing out, this kind of situation is impacting the economic progress as well.
It is. But then the fact is, when you have over 18 to 20,000 crores every year being pumped in the northeast area, and a major share of it goes in Assam, some of it does translate into work. And if you look at the urban centers, you see the high sky rise buildings coming up and all those construction coming up.
When you say it's political, you say a lot of this is political. Would you be willing to go out on a limb and actually point fingers at specific political groups that are fueling this?
No, I think that's the easiest thing done, and that's what's been happening for a while. I think the citizens of Assam have a much larger role to play. Now everybody is saying that government's not doing anything, be it the Congress, be it the AGP, be it any government. But how many citizens have come up front and said, look, we've identified this illegal Bangladeshi in this part of Assam and we want to deport him. There is a process. Are we as citizens, as civil society, taking accountability, or are we just choosing battles which benefit us?
So, Mr. Ravi, what we're doing is essentially firefighting as and when the crisis breaks out. Sending the army in, conducting flag marches, imposing a curfew.
Why the Chief Minister is not trying to do some combing operation there, as they did in the case of Ulfa, that Operation Clean and Operation Bajrang, operation kind of those operations.
But Mr.
They are
Rehmani,
not carrying out. They promised it. He said that there are 5,000
operations to get whom?
To get the illegal arms out.
Illegal arms out. What about the illegal immigrants?
That is the actual problem.
And also the illegal immigrants there.
Not the illegal, of course. 2005 Supreme Court judgment has very clearly said that it's the responsibility of government to create various kind of tribunals to identify those illegal. So they tried it earlier under IMDTA and under all other the Foreigners Act 1946, and they could find hardly 11,000.
Right. So let's go back to Biswajit Daimari. Mr. Daimari, Bodoland Territorial Council अभी उस एरिया को गवर्न करती है. आपके हाथों में भी कुछ तो पावर्स हैं जो वहां की सिचुएशन को काम करें. आप अपनी तरफ से क्या कर रहे हैं? बोडो लीडरशिप क्या कर रही है वहां पे?
देखिए, बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल जो है इसमें लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए कोई माने होम का पावर यहाँ पर नहीं है. बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल कोई भी पुलिस को एडवाइस दे नहीं सकता है. कोई थाने का माने पुलिस ऑफिसर या कांस्टेबल बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल का बात नहीं सुनता है क्योंकि ये बोडोलैंड के कंट्रोल में नहीं आता है. और रिलीफ एंड रिहेबिलिटेशन का जो डिपार्टमेंट है, अभी तक बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल को असम गवर्नमेंट हैंडओवर नहीं किया है, जिसके कारण बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल से रिहेबिलिटेशन में या रिलीफ देने में कोई काम कर नहीं सकता है. यद्यपि बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल खुद के तरफ से जो कर सकता है उसको यहाँ पर लोगों को लेके एक साथ लेके काम कर रहा है. यही सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है कि जब भी लॉ एंड ऑर्डर सिचुएशन का प्रॉब्लम आ जाता है तो बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल के कंट्रोल से बाहर आ जाता है समस्या. यहाँ पब्लिक का रिलेशन बहुत अच्छा है, एक दूसरे के बीच में अच्छा विश्वास है, एक साथ मिलकर भी रहता है, काम भी करता है. लेकिन जब उग्रवादी लोगों ने आदमी माने मारता है, गोली करता है, तब उन लोगों को निरापत्ता का अभाव हो जाता है. तो पुलिस को बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल एडवाइस दे नहीं सकता है और पुलिस कभी भी बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल से एडवाइस नहीं लेता है. आज कोकराझार में जो घटना हो रहा है, नहीं सुनिए, आज कोकराझार में जो घटना हो रहा है ये 6 दिन से पार हो गया. अब तक कोई भी बोडोलैंड के एमएलए, कोई भी बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल के चीफ से ईएम, कोई काउंसिल्स का मेंबर, कोई प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी से लेके अदर सेक्रेटरी, कोई एमएलए, एमपी, किसी के साथ भी यहाँ का जो पुलिस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है और यहाँ पर जो सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है को भी बात नहीं किया अब तक. तो आप देखिए यहाँ पर बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल इस सिचुएशन पे क्या मुकाबला कर सकता है.
Mr. Ravi has pointed out, this one is the fourth problem.
This is, I mean, I would like to agree with Biswajit that yes, it is not, law and order is not with the council, but the party which is ruling the BTC is also ruling the state. They are in coalition with the state Congress there. Right. So they cannot just distance themselves from the responsibility which the state has to discharge. They have to do that, number one. Number two is, yes, there the problem in Assam in general and more so in Kokrajhar area is that we don't have a preventive protocol. In case some law and order breaks out, if there is a large scale sort of disruption, hundreds of people die, no one is asked to account for it. Unlike some other places where they have such a protocol, where the district administration, the district magistrate and district SP, they are made to account for it. There is no such protocol there. People, they die and as if nothing has happened.
So Anirudh, you know, we're identifying several fault lines. Ethnic clashes clearly being the most obvious over here. Right. You're an Assamese. Right. You've lived with the various communities that make up your state, and it's really quite multicultural.
Very diverse.
In many ways, very diverse. So what is your reaction as an Assamese to this kind of conflict?
You see, it's not so easy to answer to this question. I say why. Diversity is something we all have to live with. It is how we choose to live with diversity is how we are defined as a nation. So going back to what I originally started by saying, I think the problem is not addressing diversity correctly, because if you have economic situation in order.
So then, Mr. Rahmani, then do you feel that with this issue of diversity and how diversity within the Assamese identity is also something that needs to be recognized, is not then being recognized right now?
Yeah, Assam is traditionally and historically is a diverse society and much more diverse than the rest of the India, and that has to be respected. And now these kind of political activities, the cynical politics, is divesting that diversity. And this is the core issue which must be addressed by each and every part of the society, be it the civil society or the politicians or the media or the economists, whosoever. And whatever Mr. Biswajit Daima is saying, he is saying for last 4 months the same thing he is saying, and they themselves, these Bodos, They did not put down the arms after even the BTC, and now they are fearing that BTC can be amended, as our Home Minister has indicated that they are going to consider some amendments in the BTC. They are demanding more power for BTC, as he very rightly said that the Home Department and the police does not cover under the BTC Act, and they want it. They are demanding it that the home and law and order situation should be given under their
command. Okay, let's take that back to Bishwini Daimari. Mr. Daimari, आपने सुना होगा यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं कि आप की जो लीडरशिप है वहां पे वो उनको सपोर्ट मिल रहा है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से. आप ऐसे नहीं कह सकते कि आपकी कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं है लॉ एंड ऑर्डर में. एक बात तो ये है, और दूसरी बात जो वहां बोडोलैंड एरियाज में अलग अलग कम्युनिटीज जो रहते हैं उनका भी हक बनता है वहां रहने के लिए.
जी देखिए, यहाँ पर सबका पे रहने का हक है, इसको सब मानता है. और हम लोगों ने बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल बनने के बाद बहुत अच्छी तरह से यहाँ पर एक साथ मिलकर काम भी किया है. तो इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है कि कोई किसी को यहाँ से क्या है हटाना चाहता है, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. ये सब बाहर से लोगों ने ऐसे ही एक आइडिया करके यहाँ पर बोला गया है कि बोडो लोगों ने कुछ लोगों को यहाँ से हटा देना चाहता है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं. लोकल मुस्लिम भी यहाँ बहुत अच्छा है, सबको पता है कि हम सब लोग यहाँ पर रहना है. बाकी यहाँ जो बात आता रहता है माने सिक्योरिटी का, निरापत्ता का, बोडोलैंड का जिम्मेदारी का, कि अनफॉर्चुनेटली बोलना पड़ता है, आज भी असम गवर्नमेंट के जो ऑफिसर्स लोग होता है वो लोग बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल काउंसिल को अलग नजर से देखता है. आप देखिए पुलिस प्रशासन में आज बोडोलैंड में 3 नया डिस्ट्रिक्ट बनाया गया. 3 नया डिस्ट्रिक्ट में आज तक माने हमारा पुलिस ऑफिसर्स माने जितना सही वो नहीं हुआ है, जितना थाना बनाना है ये नहीं हुआ है, जितना आर्म्स देना है अच्छा आर्म्स AK-47 सीरीज तो आज तक माने सफिशिएंट नहीं है. पुलिस ऑफिसर्स को व्हीकल नहीं देता है. उन लोगों का क्वार्टर्स तो छोटा छोटा बना दिया है. बोडोलैंड एरिया के SP का क्वार्टर्स, DC का क्वार्टर्स, यहां तो ये नजर है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के ऑफिसर्स का. तो यहां से जो भेजा जाता है उन ऑफिसर्स को भी ये इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया जाता है तो इंडिपेंडेंटली काम करना है. BTC टेरिटोरियल के क्या है एडवाइस से काम करना नहीं चाहिए.
So basically,
तो ये प्रॉब्लम है यहाँ जिसके कारण सेपरेट स्टेट ऑफ माइंड.
1 minute left. Give you
they are only 27% Bodos in that BTC area,
right,
and they are enjoying 75% reservation,
right,
and all the administration is under their own
control. Okay, fair
and
point.
they don't want to get it diluted.
Mr. Ravi will give you the last word. Really, what's the end to this?
No, essentially government has to identify those who are Indians there. That's number one.
Number one.
Number two is government has to pursue the policy of inclusive politics.
Politics.
Okay. Today it is
right now it's extremely polarized.
Completely polarized.
Completely polarized.
And this is suicidal for us.
We must engage our population in economic development and economic activity, so that people are engaged.
They feel they have a stake in what's going on, stake in the progress. That's a very valid point. I think we leave it on that thought that if people feel they have a stake in their area, then they will actually ensure law and order is maintained. But the fact is, the promises of peace really, as we said, could they just have been hollow promises? It's been 3 months. The violence has erupted once again. That's all we have time for on this discussion. But really, thanks very much to all my guests for joining me.